Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to Art Fennell Reports. I'm Art Fennell. Well, spring is officially here, and of course, you know what that means. It means warm temperatures, flowers blooming, and, well, scenes like this. College basketball, the drama, the excitement, the heartache. Contests that leave you breathless as teams go from underdog to Cinderella in just a matter of days, capturing the hearts and the souls of sports fans everywhere. You know it's time. It is March Madness. The road to the NCAA championship has begun. Now, while there are a host of great games for your viewing pleasure, there are always things you can also guarantee as well, and that is the money. Millions of dollars will change hands because this is big business. We're talking the dollars and cents of March Madness, and it's staggering. Ad dollars and money revenue alone brought in via broadcasting rights rival only one other sporting event: the Super Bowl. And that's not even including the money wagered on all the games. Take a look at these numbers just as an example. According to Kantar Media, which did some research on this, CBS and Turner Broadcasting made $738 million in their advertising last year on March Madness. General Motors was the lead ad buyer. They spent nearly $58 million on their commercials for the big games. Going back to CBS and Turner for a minute, both networks paid $680 million to the NCAA and its member schools to air the tournament. And then that's not even mentioning all of the online traffic that's generated as a result of this. The NCAA racked up more than 220 million hits to their website just during the tournament alone. And then there's the wagering. That's staggering. In 2012, there were $2.8 billion in total bets on the NCAA tournament. Of course, that's just the ones we know about. We're going to talk about March Madness. Chris Murray is here. He is the man in the fedora, and he's back on the program. Chris is a sports reporter who's covering the tournament. He's also the creator of the Chris Murray Report, an online public forum for sports, politics, and culture. Dr. Jeremy Jordan is here on the program. Dr. Jordan is director of the Sports Industry Research Center at Temple University. His expertise is centered around the economic impact and community benefit of sporting events. And also here is above average Joe. Joe Bonfig is an office pool aficionado. Get this, he runs a huge March Madness pool. He runs a Crazy 8 pool. He runs a fantasy football pool, an NFL brackets pool, and probably plenty more. By the way, he does have a day job. He works for a big law firm in Philadelphia, Baum. Guys, thanks for being on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you know, March Madness is underway. We go through this every year, and it's always so much fun, but let's just start off with this money that we were just talking about, this economic impact. March Madness is a huge deal, probably bigger than people realize. Jerry, let me just start with you. Were you surprised at some of the numbers you saw on this?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we talk about this in some of my classes. You know, the deal that they have with CBS and Turner is for 14 years, and it's for $10.8 billion.
Wow.
And so the NCAA, about 80% of its operating revenue each year comes directly from March Madness, from the TV rights for this deal. So it's significant to the organization in terms of what it can do, and it trickles down all the way to the schools, and so it's a significant source of money, and advertisers have picked up on the popularity, and you mentioned in the intro that, I mean, they're projecting this year that it could get close to $1 billion in advertising revenue.
Wow, so it's growing. It continuously grows.
Yes.
It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Let me just stay with you for a minute here. You said it could trickle down to the schools. Some have argued that the schools really don't get the benefit they should be getting out of this.
Well, by participating in one tournament game, you earn almost $2 million for your conference. Games are called units, and you get 1 unit for every game you participate in up until the championship. Units this year are worth about $250,000, and they're paid out over a 6-year period. So whatever a school earns this year, those units will count in terms of payouts for the next 6 years. And so a school that makes it to the Final Four will earn, I think it's $9.5 million for their conference just from this over the 6-year period. So, yeah, I mean, there's big money, but it also gets down to the schools a little bit as well.
Yeah, well, that's good. Chris, you know, That's all well and good because, and you're a journalist, you know about these matters, and the people who are running the schools and running the ad games, they know all about this. But for the fans, this is just good college basketball, and they get caught up in the hoopla of that and with all the kids and so forth. What do you take away from it?
Well, it's the unpredictability of the tournament, because the thing is, some little Cinderella team can kind of come in and upset you, take you out of the tournament, and it ruins all the pools. Okay, I go back to a couple of things. Back in 1981, probably one of the most exciting days of the tournament, when Little St. Joe's went and upset the #1 seed of the tournament, DePaul, and got him on a last-second shot. Lonnie McFarland threw a pass to John Smith under him for a layup. The game was over. And I'm sure if they had pools back then, people would
Oh, they had them. Yeah, and that was a great team because I happen to remember that. That was Mark Aguirre's team.
Terry Cummings.
Terry Cummings. They were just a beast, and everyone was saying that this is the team that's going to win it all. Well, that never happens like that.
That's true. And then you talk about George Mason in 2006. Nobody had them in their pool. If you had them in their pool, I like to meet you and shake your hand.
Yeah.
Because no one had them in that pool. No one had them going all the way to the Final Four and all that. I mean, same thing VCU a couple of years ago.
Butler,
those teams, and that's the beauty of this tournament, is that you never know. There might be some school that come out of the woodwork to win, but it's always been like that.
Well, you know what? Look, a couple of years ago, well, not anymore because they're a powerhouse. Now it was a little school called Gonzaga, and people say, who are those guys? But all they did was win basketball games in the tournament.
Yeah, that's right.
You know?
I mean, that's the thing.
That's what makes what you do so much fun, isn't it, Above Average Joe? Because these office pools are just off the chart. Everybody's got them.
They are off the chart. And to touch back to what Jeremy was saying earlier about the numbers, he was a little surprised. I'm really not, because I have little old ladies come to me with their brackets.
Really?
And the unpredictability, the little schools here, it offers a flavor for everybody to taste. Yeah. And so I got a whole gamut of people to enter their pools that find this March Madness interesting and want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And it's either the old men in the office, the little old ladies in the office. It's just everybody.
And isn't that interesting? Because you would think that it's only the sports guys, all the guys that sit around at the bar and have their beers and so forth. These are the guys in the office pools. You say definitely not.
Definitely not. Obviously they are, and they're the ones with 4 or 5 pools. But I can guarantee you, they're usually not the ones winning it.
That's true.
It's usually Miss Betty in the corner over there who picked because her son went to Butler, and all of a sudden Butler's in the Final Four.
Yeah.
Or because of team colors.
Team colors. And you know
some
what?
people like team colors.
First of all, okay, you're in the sports world. You're in a pool this year?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Jeremy, you in a pool?
I am.
Everybody's in a pool. I mean, doesn't you feel like you're just not connected unless you're in a pool this time of year, because you want to follow your brackets. You got to get to a TV, see who won, what teams to check off, which ones you keep going. It's just so it really has taken over the sports landscape. And I would say, and I want to get you guys' reaction on this, more so than the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl is one game.
Mm-hmm. Right.
March Madness is a plethora of games.
Yeah.
What do you say about that?
It's almost like going to the casino. I mean, you put a coin in a slot. You don't know you don't know if you're going to win, get a whole big jackpot, or if you're going to just end up with nothing. Like you talked about the experts. Now, I've been calling these things for years. Okay, I've been participating in pools for years. I've only finished second place once. Usually my pools are done by the weekend. I'm like, oh man, it's sort of like going to the racetrack and you tear up your form and when you lose.
But wouldn't you say that there's probably too much analyzing in a lot of this? Somebody talked about people that win them are the ladies in the office that like the school colors or something like that, or the uniforms and so forth. And Jeremy, I think you said off camera that you have a PhD pool.
With some of our students, and I'm sure as PhD students do, they spend a lot of time analyzing who they're going to pick. It's funny, you talk to students and they have multiple brackets in multiple pools, and they're all different. So, with your pool, I may pick a certain team, and with this other pool, I'm going to do another. Yeah. So I find, and it's only anecdotal, the less time I spend on my picks, the better I do, the more I think about it.
Go ahead.
And in my situation, working for a law firm, it's a office full of lawyers. So the aspect of office pools is, let's argue about it. How dare you pick Indiana, or how dare you pick Louisville? What do you mean you're going to pick a 12 over a 5? It adds that lunchroom, water cooler, or legal.
And that's part of the
argument effect, right.
sportsman mentality of it all. And,
Well, I was going to say sports writers.
Go ahead,
I mean,
yeah.
we go at. I mean, we're down there. I've been down there watching practices, and we're down there. We cover the teams all year. We think, hey, these guys are going to win. These guys are looking good. They won 5 games in a row or something like that. Then all of a sudden they get in the tournament, and some little school from Montana or something like that upsets the number 1 seed or number 2 seed. Number 1 seed hasn't been upset yet. It'll happen one day. But the thing is that no matter how many times you probe to the stats, you look at all the late season surges, you get even more confused. And really, it's really, hey man, let's roll the dice and let the chips fall where they may.
Well, let's just deal with that just for a minute here. Are there any real strategies here, that you could consider to be tried and true? Okay, for example, you would think that a number 1 is gonna beat the lowest seed in the tournament, something like that, which is not always guaranteed either. But what kind of strategies do you normally incorporate?
Well, the number 1, as we just pointed out, there has not been a 1 seed upset by a 16 seed, so you can script in that 1 seed into the next round automatically. The other strategy is that you always will have a 12 upset in a 5, and in most years you'll have more than 1. I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago we had 3 number 12s.
So do you just try to go ahead and pick those, just build those into your strategy, just try to find the one you think's going to happen?
That's the strategy. Which 12 is going to be that Cinderella that's going to upset the 5 and continue that momentum. And outside of that, I mean, there's you lean on the strong conferences throughout the regular season
because they play tougher competition.
Because they play tougher competition, and you see those kind of matchups, and you kind of go with the stronger conference. But outside
Chris,
of that,
you ever load up all number 1s in your Final Four?
Yeah, I have, and sometimes some years I've lost. But the thing is, you also look at the way teams are playing, because I remember back in 2001, I was watching the University of Maryland, and they were kind of surging through the tournament. They lost a tough game in their conference tournament against Duke, and I had this feeling that these guys are going to go to the Final Four, and the number 1 seed in that region was Stanford, and they crushed Stanford. I mean, it was a tough game. It was basically over by the middle of the second half. And so you watch how certain teams are surging. Like Indiana in 1981, they were playing really well, and I remember people saying, watch these guys. So there's always a team you have to watch. So that's another thing you have in the back of your eye. Okay, these guys are playing well. These guys are kind of cruising into the tournament and all that.
You wanted to add something there?
Well, you talk about the casual fan, and I think what draws the casual fan into this experience and into this idea of being part of pools is that you don't have to have a strategy, and you can be very successful. I mean, if it was something that you really needed to analyze and you really needed to study and know all the ins and outs, probably a lot of people wouldn't participate. But I can take 30 seconds or a minute and fill out my bracket, and I may do as well as above average Joe here who spends 3 days on it.
Yeah, and let's do this. Right? Let's do this here and now. Let's run the disclaimer, because there may be people who are watching this right now who are thinking, "Oh, I can't believe they're talking about these pools. That's gambling. That's illegal. They can't do that." And kind of, sort of, but I mean, for the most part, this is fun stuff. Yeah. You're not talking about big money that's going to bankrupt someone's budget for the week or whatever. It's just maybe $1 or $2 for these pools. And I know that in some cases, for example, and I hope they don't mind me saying this, I know in Philadelphia, the police officers have a huge pool, right, way bigger than people think, and they donate a lot of that money to charity.
Yeah. And to speak about that, I mean, our office pools are done for the community purpose of the office. I mean, you're spending your most of your day, with these people, and it builds a sense of relationship. It builds a sense of community. It builds a sense of, I can go down to the next office or across the hall and talk about the March Madness, and it builds that relationship between
water cooler.
But yeah, it's the water cooler effect, and my superiors, the people in my firm, understand that people find that fun. There's a monotonous day, and this breaks it up. And if you have fun, you're going to be more productive at work.
There's something else I love about your firm, and we've had representatives on this program before. You guys do a huge community party for March Madness. And what you get, like a couple of thousand people that turn out for this thing every year.
Yeah, I mean, this year we're going to have close to 2,000 people. We have silent auctions. We have a great time. It runs all day with the games on it. All the money we make goes to Phil Abundance. I mean, and that's another sense of community. We bring in our clients, we bring in our associates, we bring in all the relationships we have, and we say, let's enjoy ourselves.
All built around March Madness, and that's what you were starting out saying about the community impact on this, right?
Yeah, and you know, for communities that get to host these games, it brings people from outside of the community to stay in your hotels, eat in your restaurants, do the things that you want them to do to spend the money in your town, and there is significant economic impact with all the different rounds of the tournament, because obviously it's different sites depending on which round you're in.
Yeah, okay. Well, I want you guys to hang on just for a minute here because we're going to take a break. Come back, we're going to talk more about the madness of these March basketball games, and we're going to talk more about these. This is a bracket. You got yours? Filled it out? How are your teams doing so far? You're watching Art Fennell Reports, and we'll be right back with more after this. Welcome back to the report. It's March Madness. The games are underway. It's been some fun already, as it always is. Joining me are three experts who know all about the madness of March Madness. Chris Murray's back on the program, the journalist in the fedora. He's covering the tournament this year, and he's also the creator of the Chris Murray Report, an online public forum and sports, politics, and culture site. Jeremy Jordan is here, Dr. Dr. Jordan, Director of Sports Industry Research Center at Temple University, and they center around the economic impact and community benefits of sporting events like this. And also, we have on the program Above Average Joe, not your average Joe. This is Joe Bonfig, an office pool aficionado. This guy runs more pools than you can count, and he works as an attorney at Zorin Baum law firm in Philadelphia. Joe, let me start with you. How many pools again are you running? Or do you run?
Well, I run several. Just with March Madness, I run the actual bracket pool, and I have a very unique pool called the Crazy Eights. And it's a little playoff. You don't need a big bracket. You need to select 8 teams, and each team that you select and they win, they get the amount of points for their seeding. So it favors the 12s, the 11 Belmonts or the 12 Oregons, and there's a lot of different strategies. A lot of people love that pool itself just because it's different. It's you don't have to fill out 32 teams. You just pick 8 teams and you run through it. But I run a lot of football pools. And I run, in fact, when it slows down between the sports, we run a lottery pool. If the Powerball or Mega Millions jumps up there in the 200, 300.
Yeah, it's at like 320 or something like that.
I got people saying, listen, why don't we get a pool together and get money together and go buy some tickets? So, and that all goes back to everybody wanting to just be a part of something, wanting to be a part of that community on the farm.
And think about this. Come on. If we're just going to be real, we've all done that. I mean, we've had them here, and everybody comes up and says, hey, let's put some money together and see if we can catch this Powerball.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say this. I'm in one cable site's pool. That's $10,000 for Best Buy gift certificate. I want that gift certificate. I'm sorry. I mean, there's computers, big screen TVs in there. I mean, and also for me personally as a sports writer, I like the bragging rights. I like to tell people that, hey, I picked this.
It's all about bragging rights.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah, especially among lawyers. Let me tell you something. If you can brag about you won that pool this year among lawyers, that's a trump card right there.
Yeah, the bragging rights of it, and everyone dreams of the perfect pool, the perfect bracket. Where you just run the table. That's never been done, right?
No, but I think Yahoo is offering $1 million if you submit it to their site and you've got a perfect bracket. I think it's $1 million winner, but I think it's 1 in 9 billion chance of winning that.
Yeah.
So it's
like your chance of getting hit by lightning twice in the same day.
Yeah, I think you may have a better chance to win the superfecta at the Kentucky Derby or the Preakness or the Belmont Stakes than going through a perfect bracket.
I don't know if that'll ever be accomplished. I mean, think about it. There are just way too many scenarios that would have to hit just right, and it's too many games. So your probability continually drops with all these games.
I'm happy if I get a perfect Final Four.
My producer's in my ear, and he wanted me to remind you all that I have a perfect bracket in my hand. This is his bracket, Brian Aiken. Let's go through it, and you guys can analyze it. It could be good stuff for jokes later. Okay, and I think we have it that we can put up. Okay, now this is going to be tough to read, but take a look at the Final Four. He's got Louisville, Notre Dame, Indiana, VCU. And then he's got your national champion as Louisville. Okay?
Well, the only thing I agree with is Louisville. The rest, come on, really? Considering how well Miami has been playing and all those other things, Ohio State's been playing well. I mean, I don't think VCU has been playing that well to pick them for the Final Four.
He must
have another.
He's got Illinois beating Miami.
Wow.
What do you think about that?
I think that's
was he drinking at the time?
Ambitious.
Ambitious. What do you think about that, John?
Yeah, I used to be at the University of Miami, so I think I would have to disagree with that.
Yeah, and then he's got VCU beating Kansas. VCU's a 5. Kansas is the 1 coming from that part of the bracket.
I think he's relying on VCU's success of last year and riding the momentum through this year.
He's not saying anything in my ear. He can't react to that. He's got.
Is he a Notre Dame fan?
Yeah, he's got.
That's a bit of an odd
Notre
one.
Dame is a 7.
In the Final Four.
That's his Cinderella. He's got him beating Iowa State. He's got him beating Ohio State. He's got him beating Arizona and K-State, and then losing to Louisville.
Yeah, that's probably done at a bar.
That's a
Yeah,
stretch.
been at a bar, yeah.
That's a huge stretch. I mean, I've seen Notre Dame this year. They're a decent team, but they're not a Final Four.
So he had a chance to put it up, but you guys are all in agreement that this is really not going to do very well.
May not be $1 million bracket there.
There you go.
Hey, man, give me the camera. Give me the camera. Okay, so much for that. But isn't that what it was all about, though?
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
you look at someone's bracket and you think, man, what were you thinking?
Right.
You know, come on. Nobody's going to, and that's just such a long shot. That's what makes it fun, isn't it?
That's what makes it fun. And I tell you what, if Notre Dame's in the Final Four, your producer is going to ask for all of our numbers and rub it right in the back in our faces.
Yeah.
But that's what it's all about. It's about being at that water cooler and saying, I told you that 11 seed is going to pull up that upset. I told you Notre Dame's going to be Final Four. And it's like, and that's the fun part of that.
Well, I'll tell you
That's
what,
the madness.
if Notre Dame makes the Final Four, I'll go down to Rocco's down at Home Depot and I'll buy that guy a hot sausage or a cheesesteak or something.
Yeah.
I will personally do that. You heard it right here.
Yeah, he said he'll hold you to it. He's again, I can hear him in my ear. Let me just move on to where do we see this going? I mean, can it get any bigger than it is already? You mentioned earlier that the ad revenue would be more than $1 billion very, very soon, perhaps even this year. I mean, how much bigger can this get?
You know, there's been discussions. The interesting thing, if you look at the trends with the tournament, attendance has actually gone down a little bit, not significantly, but it's trending down a little bit. But TV ratings continue to trend up, and so I think that speaks to people's interest to want to be home now that every single game is televised. I may not want to go and watch games. I want to have the freedom to watch as many different games as I can and follow my teams or my bracket. You know, there's been discussions within the NCAA to increase the number of schools that could be part of the tournament. That comes up periodically, and so having a much larger tournament is that make it more inviting for people.
How would that work, though?
There's been discussion that every Division I team could be part of it.
I hope that they don't do that because I think it would water down the tournament, and I think that I like the tournament where it is right now because I think people I don't like the idea of certain teams that weren't that good during the regular season. Like, for example, if you can't go 500 in your conference, you don't deserve to be, especially if you're in the big power conferences, you don't deserve to go to the NCAA.
Some would say that's why they always have the NIT.
Right, exactly.
That's the also-ran. Like, go play in that. You weren't good enough to get in the big
Yeah,
dance.
and that's but the thing is that's what people want to see, the best teams. And the thing is, if you can go through your conference season and you win and you beat some good teams, people want to see the best of the best. I think bringing more teams waters the whole product down. I hope they never do that. I really don't like it at 60. I like the 64 team, but they got the play-in games and all that. But it's all. I hope they don't sell out the money too much. I just hope they don't.
And just to add on that, I mean, only a couple of years ago it was only 64 teams, and then they added 2 play-in games, and now it's 4 play-in games. So it's up to 68. So you say, how does it get bigger? It's more schools. And the trend's been like that.
Yeah. What was in your opinion, one of the biggest upsets in March Madness?
Oh, Lord, one of the biggest upsets. Well,
so many.
I'm relatively young, but I love the Drew shot for Valpo against Ole Miss. That just the setup of the play to get him free, and he was the Cinderella on the Cinderella team, and he buried that shot at the last second. I just love that.
Oh
moment.
man, Chris, give me yours before we're out of here.
Undoubtedly, it was Villanova, Georgetown, 1985.
That maybe, that's a good one.
Watching Villanova through that run was incredible. They beat a number 2 seed. They beat 2 number 2 seeds. I think about 3 number 1 seeds in that run to win the national championship.
Do you have one?
I think it's the 30-year anniversary, but NC State.
That's another good one.
With Jim Valvano.
Coach Valvano. Hey, they're all good. Hey, look, good luck with your brackets and all that goes into it and the March Madness, because we're going to be living this for quite a while. Yes. We're out of time. Have some fun out there. Go team, go. I'm Art Fennell. See you next time.